What is Codename Kids Next Door? It's an American kids cartoon that aired for 6 seasons from 2002 to 2008 on Cartoon Network. It follows Sector V, a group of highly skilled kids fighting adult tyranny using their 2x4 technology in their high-tech treehouse. I grew up loving this show and recently rewatched it. Let me tell you, it still holds up and is my favorite kids cartoon next to Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Stupid dog! You made me look bad!
The show to this day is worth the watch. A lot of problems from a kid's perspective are caused by an evil rogues gallery of stereotyped adults. Are the neighborhood ice cream trucks refusing to give kids ice cream? Well, that's because they're hoarding it all for themselves and the other adults. Want to eat candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Well, not without villains like the hygiene-obsessed vigilante Night Brace or candy thief Sticky Beard stealing all the candy. Even a few children under the parenting of the evil father are the spitting image of what adults think children should look and act like. The delightful children from down the lane are in uniform and hilariously walk and talk in unison.
But we were just about to play some party games. Please stay.
The voice actors absolutely kill it. I could go on and on about each voice actor's talent, kids and adults alike. The cowardly Toilinator tripping over his own words.
I'm a big-time villain, mister!
Yeah, sure you are.
The most intimidating villain father with his deep commanding tone and maniacal laugh down pat.
Door or
To each member of Sector V.
We only get one shot at this 5 times a year.
The evil adults would get away with their evil acts if it wasn't for the kids next door protecting any kid in need. Kids Next Door operatives are found all around the world. Sector V consists of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, codenames given to the active Kids Next Door operatives. Each operative has a diverse background, personality, and talent to contribute to the team. Number 1 is the cool-headed leader of the group and a workaholic. Number 2 is the 2x4 technology inventor and pilot. He's the funny man of the group and loves his puns. Number 3 is the tactician and medical specialist. She's the kind, but head-in-the-clouds type that's always distracted by less important things not related to the mission. Number 4 is the short-tempered, smart-mouth brawler of the group. And number 5 is the relaxed second-in-command. Episodes feel like a James Bond secret mission. Each member of the Kids Next Door is a highly skilled operative equipped with special 2x4 technology they use to fight adults. 2x4 technology can be anything from weapons, vehicles, to jet-powered boots. It never loses that charm when you see something like a mustard gun, and can tell it was something made by a kid. Every episode starts with a mission acronym of what the episode is about because, well, acronyms make everything cooler. Even 2x4 technology gets a spotlight with their own acronyms. Some of the words they choose aren't even real words. It's great. It gets even better when you realize the spelling for Numba is spelled exactly how they say it with the UH at the end. The show starts with single one-off episodes, but each new season got longer, more cohesive narratives. You see the show mature alongside its world building and growing cast of characters. You go from villain of the week to stories that any kid or adult can relate to. They talk about relationships between families, talk about what it's like to grow up, even what happens when you're too old to be in the Kids Next Door. This is all to say there's a surprisingly rich world to pull from when thinking about interesting scenarios to play in a Kids Next Door video game. And I remember playing hours of Kids Next Door Flash games back in the day. So I'm excited to play a full, quality KND video game. Kids Next Door Operation Video Game released in 2005 for the Gamecube, PlayStation 2, and Xbox. And Operation S.O.D.A was released a year prior in 2004 for the Game Boy Advance. So with my thoughts of the show out of the way, how are the games? I will be the first to say these games are nothing special. I'm only playing them because I was such a big fan of the show. With that being said, even as a fan, the Kids Next Door inspiration featured in these games are just surface level nods to things I've seen before. 'Twas the case with licensed video games at the time. The best you can hope for is a game that works. First up is Operation Video Game. The main menus are giving off cursed DVD extra menu vibes. It played the main Kids Next Door theme, but that theme is only 30 seconds long, and it will immediately loop back to the start, over and over and over again. Each level, like the show, is given an acronym with a short cutscene to introduce the level. Fortunately, everyone's personalities are intact. All of the show's voice actors reprise their roles, and there's even new music from the show's composers.
One size fits all.
The first tutorial level, being a fight against the Toilinator, was a fantastic choice. The Toilinator is a villain no one, not even the other villains, take seriously. Using him to teach you the basic controls while he makes empty threats is hilarious. Your controls are very basic: move, attack, jump, and interact. You can lock on to enemies, so you can move in any direction while firing your weapon at a target. After clogging the Toilinator, you get orders from number 86 to recapture the villains that escaped from the Kids Next Door Arctic Base maximum security prison. On to the next level, Grandma Stuff'em, an old lady who wants to fatten up kids with her gross food, has taken over a donut shop and is filling donuts with spinach. Gross. Number 1 infiltrates the donut shop to stop her. You're immediately stuck in a room against Grandma Stuff'em's spinach soldiers and lunch ladies. After some simple combat, you move on. Into the oven, you get your first taste of platforming. Just time number 1's grappler at the right time to pull yourself up and not get hit. After that is some awful platforming where you hop from donut to donut with changing camera angles that are working against you. Thankfully, checkpoints are generous. First impressions get even muddier, jumping up a wind tunnel that just feels slow. Even slower when you try to collect this game's collectibles. Scattered around each level are rainbow monkeys that are just to unlock fun optional secrets. And more importantly, 2x4 technology upgrades that make going through each level easier. Upgrading your weapon and hearing the computer narrate hits that "ooh, this is just like the TV show" part of my brain. This level's upgrade is the Gamzuka, a new weapon that does more damage. Up the river of donut batter to Grandma Stuff'em's boss fight we go. If the show is anything to go by, this game's charm is going to be from its writing. Aside from a cutscene at the start and end of each level, banter between characters is limited to text boxes. Which is fine, except every text box pauses the action. It makes something I look forward to a nuisance instead. Even though playing a video game is going to be much more drawn out versus watching an episode of a TV show, I wanted more dialogue between Sector V and each level's villain. In most cases, the level is a solo mission, so there isn't much going on. The boss fight with Stuff'em was pretty easy. Just flip a few switches to trap her chuck wagon, and fire away while her shields are down. While number 1 is away, the treehouse is infiltrated by the common cold, so it's up to number 5 to turn off the treehouse's security grid to reach and stop the common cold. Number 5 has a bit more mobility. She can double jump, wall jump, punch and kick enemies. It's so cool to explore such an iconic location from the show. Even more immersive is how on point the music has been so far. With the composer of the show on board, it's neat hearing extended versions of songs you might hear in the show. It's always had the serious orchestrated movie-like feel to it, which fits really well here. Number 5 navigates through the trap-infested treehouse, moving boxes to platform over electrical grids, avoid lasers, and hitting switches in her room while avoiding spotlights from her disco ball. This level's 2x4 upgrade is the Smell Mitt. It's underwhelming since it just lets you explore optional areas for more items. With the flip of the switch, the security system is shut down and the treehouse is secure. The common cold problem remains, so number 2 breaks out the Kids Next Door cool bus to stop him. This level is a painfully average shoot 'em up. There is one cool mechanic though. The Gamma Guard blocks shots and races a meter that when filled lets you do a screen wipe attack. So you're encouraged to fly into bullets with the right timing to build that meter. 2x4 tech gained in these levels increases the cool bus's firepower. You eventually catch up to the common cold and bring him down. After a job well done, the next villain shows himself. Count Spankulot, a spank-happy vampire intent on disciplining naughty children. He's turned all but number 4 into spank-happy vampires, so number 4 does what he does best and gives them a whoopin'. You need to make it to number 4's room with all the 2x4 technology upgrades to unlock my favorite K&D weapon, the Splanker. This level has a lot of combat. Once you make it to number 4's room, you climb up the treehouse and give the other members of Faceful a Splanker. You start with number 2, 3, and 5, then make your way to this level's boss fight with the transformed number 1. With everyone back to their senses, they need to restore power to the treehouse. Naturally, the treehouse is powered by hundreds of hamsters. Number 3 is best for the job. Every part of the team has something unique to provide. Number 1 has long-range weapons, number 2 has his cool bus, number 4 has his fists, number 5 has a double jump, and number 3 flaps her arms to float in the air. Everyone has cool gadgets to use, and this is all they could come up with. Number 3 goes from room to room, chasing down hamsters to restore power to the treehouse. Later she unlocks the Frappe, a tool that freezes hamsters in a solid block of ice, but at the same time makes them easier to catch. Now it's number 1's job to take down Count Spankulot. All of the Count's minions are immune to number 1's attacks, unless they're caught in the light, so you need to shoot at the neighborhood bug zappers to create light and lure enemies inside. A power shot can also deal damage even in the dark. Number 1's job is to rescue the kids being attacked by the hands of justice. It's a little annoying fighting these guys in the dark, but when you find the upgraded weapon for this level, the Scamp, you can one-shot any enemy with a power shot. Every upgrade, even if they're just damage upgrades, really make a difference in making this game easier, so they're always worth the trouble of finding them. Your fight with Spankulot is out of the suburbs and onto a spooky clock tower. You go from one section to the next fighting waves of enemies, turning spotlights on along the way to make your job easier. Spankulot was the first challenging boss fight. The rules are the same. He can only be hurt when in light, and the spotlights in the area keep moving, so you need to use your power shots or time your attacks just right to hit him under a spotlight while he sends tons of bats your way. The next problem besides number 4
What does this button do?
Why do you always gotta be pressing buttons when you don't know what they do?
is the Candy Thief Sticky Beard. Number 2 flies after the Sweet Revenge in the cool bus, another shoot 'em up section with nothing new. Moving on. Number 5 sneaks on board the Sweet Revenge for a stealth mission. I say stealth mission, and the game says stealth mission, but there really isn't much to it. If you punch enemies from behind, they'll go down in one hit, but if they spot you, you'll just take them down like any other enemy. There are less healing items around, so it is worth being stealthy down these repeated hallways. A little bit of platforming, and you're on the ship's deck. You clear out the cannons so the cool bus can scoop up number 5 after the mission, and then find Sticky Beard. Sticky Beard's boss fight is pretty fun. He drops chests that you can either break yourself, or stand behind to avoid his attacks. One of them will have a special irresistible candy that Sticky Beard will jump on top of, leaving him vulnerable to attacks. The next evil adult Night Brace is found, capturing fireflies to make Bug Bright toothpaste. Yuck. So number 3 goes around collecting fireflies to open a path forward to Night Brace's secret lair. Not much to talk about here either. It's a simple mission. When you have fireflies with you, you need to avoid the bug zappers and Night Brace's dentadrones. If anything happens to them, you need to catch them again. Number 3 doesn't start with any weapons, so this level's upgrade, the Thumper, makes things easier. After retreading the suburbs, you're back at the clock tower. This time, all you need to do is collect all the fireflies here to complete the mission. The fireflies tell number 3 where Night Brace's lair is, and number 1 heads there to put a stop to his evil plans. This is one of the more fun missions in the game. You start in a central room with a rotating bridge, moving to each section of the level to get a passcode to open the main door. This time you can actually hear Night Brace's banter without the game pausing the action. It's so weird that this is the only level to do something like this. This is also where the game will give you some challenge. Number 1 doesn't jump very far, and there's a lot of platforming. You need to time your jumps perfectly, or pray that he grabs on the ledges. Once through the main door, you're in a cave with neon green rivers of fluoride. A cool looking location with appropriate context. There's one more gate between you and Night Brace. You control these poor children to short circuit the gate to move on. Night Brace's boss fight is probably the best in the game. He can only be damaged from behind, so you react to his attacks and find the right moments to get behind him. The Toilinator is back for revenge, and number 4 is the only one still at the treehouse to do anything about it.
Trespasser, come out and fight like a kid. I told you I'd be back. No matter how many times you flush, you can't keep a good villain down.
This time he's got toilet paper and poo minions on his side. Truly a force to be reckoned with. There's some punching and awkward platforming. The hallways are covered in toilet paper, so you need to climb up ledges to get through the gaps. These platforms are along the walls and corners of hallways, so the camera can't really show you the spacing you need for these jumps. Instead of fighting the Toiletator, because you know, that would be too easy, you need to race him to the top of number 4's room for the victory. With all the villains contained, a trip to the Kids Next Door moon-based prison is in order. The last number 2 shoot-'em-up mission might have changed my opinion of the whole thing. For one, it's good he has unique missions making use of his role in the team. Second, when the level's actually challenging, I have more fun. You're thinking about where to be, when to pull up your shields, and when to use the screen wipe. The level ends with a fight against the delightful children from down the lane Space Mansion. Beating their butts reveals that things are still going according to their plan. The villains are hit with the Amalgamator, and are fused into one super big and super evil villain. The only way to fight back naturally is with a giant robot. You get to control the Trahemoth. The fight is pretty jank, but the Trahemoth does have a spotlight that always points to where the villains are, which is a neat touch. The first half of the fight is ranged, while the second half switches to melee. Trying to land a hit without getting hit yourself is a Herculean task, but you can destroy the terrain for more health. You beat the amalgamation, foil Father's plan, and of course it ends with a Star Wars reference. A year prior, Kids Next Door Operation S.O.D.A released on the Game Boy Advance. What's more cursed than a licensed video game? A licensed video game on the Game Boy Advance. This game is, something. Season 2 of Kids Next Door introduced Mr. Fizz, leader of the S.O.D.A Control Board. He raised the legal soda drinking age to 13 to stop children from drinking soda. So naturally, the Kids Next Door offer their support to supply soda to any kids in need. That story is translated to the Game Boy Advance game, Operation S.O.D.A. Man, does this game make an absolute worst first impression. The screen is too small to see enemies, controlling number 1 is awkward, and the level is small and annoying to navigate. Number 2's controls are the same, but somehow impressively feel worse to control. And the music? They just reused the same song but slowed down. Surely all the levels can't be like this, right? By the time I got to number 3, we had some variety. This time it's the same song, but sped up. 10 out of 10, no notes. The level design does improve once you finish the first set of missions. You get a little more story and the mission continues. Sector V goes from the suburbs to Carbonation Island, and the levels start to open up more in variety and complexity. There's more level variety platforming and avoiding jungle traps. The caves have more open and winding paths, and Mr. Fizz's evil lair has more enemies and obstacles. Each member gets new abilities, upgrading their 2x4 technology between each level. Number 5 can climb on walls, number 3 can super jump, and number 4 gets a combat shield and spring attack. The final showdown with Mr. Fizz has another giant robot battle, as it should. It's so clunky, but it's the first and last thing in the game that requires a bit of skill. Once you memorize and react to Mr. Fizz's attacks, you go in for the knockout and save the day. So that's Kids Next Door Operation V.I.D.E.O.G.A.M.E and Operation S.O.D.A. I usually don't walk through games in this much detail, so you can get a hint that the more I do, the less I think the game might be worth playing yourself. Kids Next Door Operation V.I.D.E.O.G.A.M.E is one of those licensed games that sets out to check boxes. Being a fan of the show is justification for buying it, so it doesn't need to do anything else particularly well. That's my cynical take anyway. Using the same voice actors and composer, while translating the show's unique style into a video game, did go a long way to make a charming experience. Even if it was pretty surface level, not doing anything to add to that experience, just pay homage to it. Operation S.O.D.A on the other hand, well, would I tell you to play it? Of course not. Even if you were a Kids Next Door fan? Of course not. Did I have hours of fun exploring Kids Next Door's video game escapades? Of course. After all this, I had a good time and was excited to geek out about one of my favorite shows from my childhood. Thanks for watching the full video. If you want to support the channel, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing the video with others. You can find me at Ryan Beardy on social media, as well as Discord with links in the description below.